Hello everyone, this is the LEGO Ninjago Legacy Ultrasonic Raider set. The set comes with just the right stuff, the main build and then a bunch of minifigs. At first glance, this looks very nice. I think it's the best looking of the Raider vehicles that they've done to date. I believe this is the third one at full minifig scale or minifig compatible scale. It went together nicely and it probably feels, or at least looks, less toyish than any of the ones that they've done to date. It looks the most complete, I want to say. I really like the new treads. I'll show you this stuff up closer, but the tracks here are made of the second generation version that just came out for the large tread segment pieces or track segment pieces that are the same shape as before, but they have a little bit of texture. They're a little bit satin or slightly matte, like semi-matte, rather than being super glossy, super plastic looking. And they're also made of a softer material. So all of that helps. Plus they're just in the black color, which is not the most common color these days. And I like that. I think that overall this presents very well. It does have some issues though with stability and reliability of things. Once you touch it, I had to correct myself at first. So I said, it feels to my brain, looks good, but so you touch it, like this moves around, this doesn't seem secure, this piece comes off easily. Same thing for the one on the other side, and just not attached that well. So some things start to literally and figuratively fall apart, but there is some reason for some of that. The forward cockpit opens this way. You can see it's the X-Wing style of cockpit, and you kind of lean that forward. You can see that there is a printed console there. I just hold a single figure right there in that spot. And then similarly, this one is done the right way, if you will, inverted comparatively. So again, you can put just a single figure there. That looks so simple. It looks so 2008-ish, the way that this is just completely empty. Now that back there does not, with some studs on the side construction and everything, hollow studs on the sides. But just having a flat plate here that a person sits on directly just feels very old school to me. It works just fine. This does use stickers that are clear backed throughout. So there's a single sticker sheet for the whole thing. All the stickers are clear backed. That's not particularly enjoyable, especially when applying stickers to these panels here, or to the windscreen pieces. The ones against the white pieces are much easier to apply without having too many issues, I want to say. There are some wing bits, wing tip bits. You can kind of change the angles of these. You can also change the static angles of these wing groups or flap groups. I don't know, what do you even call those? They do end up being used as aerodynamic devices, but right now they're just basically there for show. Here's a better look at one of the wheels and these really nice looking treads. Compared to the older style, this is just far superior. And they don't use a cheater wheel for the mechanism here. They use the little tires, little inserts, little rubber inserts that give these enough traction. So even on a very smooth surface, most of the time you get enough traction, there we go, for those to run. And you can hear that they don't sound as clacky as the ones did before because they're a softer material. It just feels like a higher quality stuff. But again, when it comes to feel, this coming off, not the first time LEGO has done something like that. You can angle this up and down. You can put a single figure right down in there. They try to make this look like a roll cage thing, so you can pull those up to put a figure in a little bit easier, make room for their shoulders. But it's just But just see that as an extra seat. There's another one on the other side as well. And you can see there's also a spring-loaded shooter here, which makes no effort to be concealed. So this is not the Ultra Stealth Raider after all. It just sticks out there. I think that could have been done a little bit nicer, but it's not that bad. You can see there is one little cheater wheel in there that doesn't actually connect to anything. Back here, you've got the large modern motorcycle wheel with the medium size or medium width of tire. But now it's time to check out the changing features, the things that will make this turn into other things, the things that will make this split up into other things, such as pulling this off. And this obviously is an independent flyer, so a single person can pilot this, and then this is where you're supposed to convert these flaps, these decorative elements, into aerodynamic devices, into wings. You just push right there. This does get a little bit finicky sometimes. Let's see if it'll work this time. Okay, it worked. That's exactly how it's supposed to work. And then I can retract those together. Yeah, that's how that's supposed to work. So again, bring them out. You know, you can fly this around. However, you can still independently adjust the angles of these wings, which is nice in and of itself, except for the fact that sometimes you can get them, I have found, experimentally, that sometimes you can get them into an arrangement, an angle where this won't deploy properly. Yeah, like right now, it doesn't want to deploy. When those are too close together, the angles of these linkages here that connect everything together just are off. So if I leave them out a little bit, then I should be able to deploy this just fine. Yeah, so that's a little bit finicky. Another thing that I found was finicky. So this looks pretty good to me and makes sense. It is a very Ninjago-like thing, you know? But another thing I found to be finicky when I was just kind of testing it for play value is the whole connection of the canopy here. If you put your thumb here like this and you're flying it around this way, that tends to come off a little bit too easily, in my opinion. Yeah, so it kind of all just fell apart right there. And that's not because it was put together incorrectly. It's just the parts that are there and how they hold each other together. It's not able to take full advantage of the potential clutch power, just the arrangement there. It's one of those really, really fine, really small, finicky things that we usually take for granted that a lot of Lego designers do consider when they are coming up with their small sub-assemblies for things. They'll actually redesign something to have the same number of studs, the same overall connection, arranged in a different way. So right here, this specific arrangement of the parts does allow for a little bit of loss of clutch power. I'm just establishing here a trend of a number of things with this whole set that don't work as well as I would like them to. With what remains, this right here as a thing is fine. This definitely works for me. This looks pretty good. This looks playable. I'm happy with this. And then you can also do this conversion. That's nice. Puts a tire up front, but it's not actually on the ground yet because this is intended to turn into a motorcycle right here, just a two-wheeled motorcycle by splitting these side bits off. So that comes off and this comes off like so. So this is now a thing, which is just a giant Ninjago motorcycle. You know Ninjago likes their big motorcycles. As something that ultimately is primarily designed as just the center of a much larger craft, a much larger vehicle, this works fine for me. I have no problems with this. This looks really fun. This does not have a bunch of finicky bits on it. You can grab this, like a younger kid can grab this and be kind of rough with it, and it will hold up just fine. I'm happy with this. This is very, very satisfying. And with those large wheels, I mean, this has, yeah, that's gonna keep going back and forth, but it's not something to worry about because it will work just fine when you just have it on the ground or even just moving around like this. That has a little bit of give there, really doesn't do anything, doesn't hurt anything. This big tire is very stable. This small tire itself is also very stable because it's dual molded. It's the Spike Prime tire that they introduced a few years back that has really good rolling characteristics. It can roll very easily. This just feels really good. However, these things that are left with their tiny little cheater wheels off to the side, it's kind of it looks like a sidecar. It's trying to be a tracked monowheel sidecar sort of hybrid thing, but it doesn't look good. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't seem that fun to me. I think that the Ultra Stealth Raider did a better job here. I am still able to easily get these tracks to turn. Might be just a little bit on the stiff side, but those might loosen up over time. It works well enough, but I personally don't like it. You get two of those, so two people can have their own vehicles, which I like the idea of. You know, everybody can have their own vehicle. 4 different people can have their own vehicles out of all of this, which is cool and all, but this just doesn't look great to me. Doesn't seem cool. Looking at figures, this is a Zane flavored vehicle. So I start with Zane here and then Kai's on the right. They have some golden weapons. These are from season 1, but this is legacy stuff. So these are legacy versions, not intended to be perfect replicas of the original whatsoever. It's a partial reimagining of Ninjago history, which I'm perfectly fine with personally. There are the remainders of the prints to see beneath the headgear pieces. No alternate face for Zane as usual. That's just standard fare. And then here, of course, are Legacy Cole and Jay. There's no Lloyd in this set. That's perfectly fine. Lloyd doesn't need to be in every single set. We get him in so many as it is. But yeah, this is a fine selection, I think, for the size of this set overall. And these are presented pretty well. I'm glad that the Legacy versions do focus on their primary colors and they don't try to mix things up too much. There are the faces underneath and just a little bit more detail to be seen with the pauldron and sheath or scabbard piece removed, and additional details on the back, which aren't that great for these two. They're a little bit down on detail, but that's okay because you don't see the back printing all that much. It's fine. Two classic bad guys in this one, Mesmo on the left, Rattler on the right, and the headgear pieces are looking rather old to me these days. Really just shows how much things have changed in the world of Lego. I mean, especially that Mesmo one on the left to me just looks so simple. It looks so 10 years ago, maybe, yeah, about 10 years ago to me. And well, there's a reason for that. But the prints, though, the prints are totally modern. The prints look really good and they're well detailed, but not too much so. They still feel like they fit into this world. I think that the graphic design work for both of these is excellent, including even a little bit of print on the back of Rattler's head there. And speaking of heads, top of the head here for Mesmo gets this print. Sorry, that's a little bit out of focus, but there you go. That's done pretty well. And finally, here's the Legacy golden version of Zane, or rather the golden Legacy version of Zane. Of course, it's appropriate to put Zane into this set. Even though we get two of them all together, it's appropriate to put this version of him in this set in particular. The headgear piece is dual molded. I kind of feel like that should have been dual molded with just trans clear instead, because the trans light blue that they went with to represent ice, frozen water ice, ends up looking green from many angles. And at first glance, it may be difficult to tell if you don't see the face underneath there. It may be difficult to tell whether this is intended to be Zane or possibly even Jay. It's either blue or even starts to look a little bit green, which is like Lloyd. No, of course it's not Lloyd, but it does have a little bit of I don't know, maybe a DX Lloyd kind of feel to it. So that's just the coloring is a little bit off. But other than that, everything here I think is done really nice. I love to see metallic prints on top of metallic plastic. So here we get silver, gold, and copper all together. And the printing on the back of this torso is also really, really nice. It's definitely deluxe. As usual, the anniversary figure also gets a little stand with a printed piece for that 10-year mark there. And that is common to all of them. And he just gets the white stud pieces in there to represent his element, which again, kind of adds to the contrast. And I think it would have been more consistent to have the clear color for the insert, or the dual molding for the headgear to be a little bit closer to this, which just would have all tied together better, I think. Extras and leftover pieces are as follows and include some nice bits. And this was the sticker sheet. The sticker load for this set did feel a little bit excessive just because some of the stickers were more difficult than usual to apply safely, correctly, and without anything underneath of them with flaws that would be visible, afterwards. This costs $80 US, and that feels like a decent price for the amount of stuff that you get here. It's not a great price, but it's not a terrible price overall. Yeah, just the total amount of stuff and the number of figures and everything, I think, goes together well with that price. I'm happy with that. And the selection of figures particularly is good here, better than usual. Overall, I feel like this is not a great toy, mostly because of a lot of those fiddly bits that I mentioned. Things that can fall off easily, things that need to be aligned properly. I also don't like these side bits. The center stuff is good as far as how it looks and I think how it plays. These over here with their tiny little tires to the insides, it just doesn't feel like a really successful conversion there. Maybe if they had just larger tires towards the inside or something that would fold out or something, just as they are. The treads themselves are good. When it's all together, it's pretty good. This definitely shows how it is very difficult to build or to design a Lego set. This feels like more of a junior designer, relatively speaking, a junior system designer's work. There are a lot of things that I think that the senior designers would typically fix along the way that we don't even pay attention to, that we don't appreciate normally, that show when they're not done right. Like, you don't appreciate this stuff when it's done properly, like how parts are aligned to avoid this coming off too easily, or putting in additional blockers so that if this is exactly there where the wings are nice in tight, it's not. Had a little bit of difficulty coming out there. Now this just popped off. You know, a lot of these things just don't feel like they have as much. Come on. Yeah, it's not. See, that's not good. Typically, a lot of stuff like that we don't think about, that we don't think we care about, is taken care of by the designers. And in this case, a lot of those things are not, and as a result, I think that this is great for folks who were kids back in the days of Ninjago Season 1, when this vehicle showed up on screen the first time around. If you were able to get the ultrasonic Raider version of it, since then in 2016, I think that was, you don't need this. You know, if you have one of these and you need something that looks like that, you like that look, you don't need this version. If you never got any of them, if you're older now and you like the look of this, I think you will like this a lot. The build is good. The build is pretty clean. It's not frustrating to put together. The stickers are a little bit annoying on the canopies, but overall, I like the look of this. I like its stance. Just as a toy, it's not great. So I think that's your trade-off here. For the younger kids, I would recommend that you kind of steer them towards other things that can be done with that same amount of money. Unless all they care about are those figures, in which case, that's rough. That's rough. It's $80 to get a set of figures is rough. I would sooner direct your money towards eBay. You know, get them parted out or Bricklink or something if you just want the figures. For play, this is not great in my opinion. The center parts are okay. This part just needs to be angled out, and then the rest of it is good. The sides, meh, little bits falling off. So mixed bag here for me, definitely. Let me know what you think though. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon.